Oh, it's time. Oh.
It's been this before. All right. No, keeps twisting. Does it work for you?
Works for me.
Okay. And since we are live now, you know, I can't move a whole lot to be able to change the camera, so it's just going to have to stay this way.
That's fine.
All right? Does it work?
Is there an explanation that goes with that?
I don't know. I mean...
First of all, I'm Birdie Brennan.
Yeah, I'm John Grable with...
Birdie Brennan, Custom Closets and Organizing.
That's right. So the way I like to tell the story is I turned 40 a couple months ago, and I thought it'd be a good idea to test out my kid's new motorbike on a Friday night. And this was almost 2 weeks ago tomorrow. And the first couple passes up and down the driveway were no problem, smooth. And coming back on the last one wasn't so smooth. And so I haven't been installing closets very much over the past 2 weeks, but I've got a lot of work done. And it's pretty much because I just sit in the same spot and nurse my wounds.
Sometimes having that time to work on the computer and work on those things that sometimes you don't take time for.
Yeah, and this one, it's been forced, right?
Forced.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing. So it's good that you can, it's good that I've been able to deploy my time in other places.
Yes.
Or towards other things.
Yes.
So we're going to spend the next 30 minutes having a grapefruit margarita. And where did you find this recipe?
Online.
Online?
I believe.
Okay.
I believe.
And we've already tested them out, but they are very delicious.
They're very good. I added a little touch of sweetness to mine.
I like it tart.
Yeah, I like it a little bit sweeter than that. But it just goes to show you don't need to hold a lot of recipes, because when you want something, a lot of times nowadays you just go to Google.
Yeah, you can go find it.
Yeah.
And actually, speaking of recipes, I made my first ever spiced pecans.
Really?
Yeah, April likes them, and so she has them for breakfast now. And I had never made them before, and they were always in that ginormous recipe book that my mom gave me. And it's the first time I've ever looked through it and found those. So
that's kind of a family thing.
it is.
Spiced pecans.
It is, but I'm sure you could find a spiced pecan recipe out online, but not.
Yeah, some are near and dear.
Yeah.
Those are good.
So you got to have the card with those.
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to talk about, we've already alluded to it a little bit, we're going to talk about time management today.
Yes.
And, obviously I have more time on my hands, but I will tell you, when you sit in the same spot for 8 hours a day, you get a little bit restless.
Okay.
And you might want to, batch your time or schedule your time a little bit differently to where you can be more productive, or maybe just be more creative, or any of those things. So let's start the conversation tonight with COVID, pandemic, everybody staying at home. And I know you have some thoughts about this, and I have some thoughts, so why don't you go first?
I just think during quarantine, when we're all home, forced home, that people, myself, found that things slowed down. You had time to do the things that normally you didn't have time for. And a lot of posts on Facebook about, we really should learn a lesson from this, slow down, and enjoy it, and let's not go back to the craziness when life gets back to normal. And I feel like, even though it's not back to normal yet, I feel like life is back to the craziness. People are trying to do 30 hours worth of work in a 24-hour day.
Yeah.
And you can't do it.
So what are some of the lessons that you learned even just at the beginning where you had more time?
Lessons learned. I think just to enjoy, to make use of that time, but also schedule, fun things and change up the activities.
That scheduling fun things is something that sounds great, but it's hard to do.
It is hard. But if you don't schedule it, most of the time it doesn't happen.
You're right about that.
And you need to have a balance.
So, what's a fun thing that you like to schedule?
I like to read.
Okay.
Like to, travel. That's a bigger thing. Like to go on bike rides. Like to walk.
Oh, okay. So, it doesn't even have to be an event like what you're talking about. It's just little things where you find enjoyment throughout the day.
Right. Taking a little self-care.
Okay.
Doing things that you enjoy. But a lot of times if you don't put them on the calendar, if something is going to be more than 15 minutes, you need to put it on the calendar.
Okay. More than 15 minutes. So one of the things that we've tried to do more purposefully is do an experience with the boys every month. And one of the good things about that is those. Obviously those are things that they will remember, right? And it will hopefully, be something that you can pass down to them. But it's also hard to get, a family of whatever it is, 5 together at the same time, and this phone is not cooperating tonight. It's hard.
What if we move the whole thing?
Maybe, might have to. All right.
You just want to have a conversation with yourself.
No, I don't. I've been having the same conversation myself for 2 weeks. Okay, so it's hard to get those experiences with 5 people at the same time, and it's, at least at this stage in my life, right? It's baseball and weightlifting and piano lessons and all of these different things. So even trying to find that afternoon, a Saturday afternoon, can be a difficult part to this. I will tell you though, you mentioned reading and going for walks, and those are just simple things where if you schedule everybody sitting down to the dinner table at the same time, that can have a big impact.
Huge impact. Yeah. That could be a ritual.
Yeah. But
you don't really schedule it, just everybody's going to be at the dinner table.
So
with no cell phones.
Yeah. Did I tell you that the boys are going to get cell phones for their birthday?
I think they told us.
Oh, I'm sure they have probably spread the news far and wide. They're very excited about that. So I have always heard you say, and this is one of your lines, schedule your priorities. Don't prioritize your schedule.
That's a good memory.
So, you beat it into me. No. So how did that come to be? Let's just ask that first.
It came to be because every day can be busy. If you don't think about goals and think about some tasks that help you get to those goals, every day there's going to be some activity, one after the other, that fills your day.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, the end of the week, the end of the month, when you think about the goals, you haven't made any forward progress. And everybody should have some goals in different areas of your life, just 2 or 3. The saying, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there.
Yeah.
It's true.
That's what it ends up being.
Yeah, you need some goals.
So let's deal in examples of this. When you schedule your priorities, what does that mean for Birdie Brennan?
Well, I know the goals, and...
Well, hold on, what's the goal? Just one example.
One example, get more fit.
Okay. And
get more fit doesn't give you a task. It doesn't give you something to do.
Right.
So you have to break it down into what does that look like? What are the tasks that you can do?
Okay.
So walking could be walking 3 times a week, just for half an hour, just for 15 minutes if you have it. It can be eating better. But even eating better is just too broad.
Right.
So you have to say, I'm going to buy fruit, and I'm going to have fruit every day. Just so you pick a goal, personally, business-wise, and then think about tasks that help you get to that goal. And those tasks are what go on the calendar.
So when you think of those tasks, right? I mean, and I know that this is another part to this conversation, but do you just automatically start off with, I'm going to walk for 2 hours each day, or is it building into it, or is it just putting something on a piece of paper and getting started with it?
For me, I look at the tasks. I have a big list. Look at the tasks, and then pick 2 or 3 every day.
Oh. And how, I mean, just at random, or is this part of a...
No, I look at it and I pick the priorities.
Okay.
That will help me get to where I want to go. And so I say, I need to get these 2 or 3 things done. I have had clients that they don't like the big list, so they put it on Post-it note, each 2 or 3 things, each on their individual Post-it note. Because then when they finish the one thing, they can take it off and crumple up and throw it away. Just a little satisfaction for them.
So I do like to-do lists, and I have a couple of those going at any one point in time. And what I've also found is I'll make the list, but the things that I've already done, I will already put on the list just so I can put I can put the strike through. Yeah.
You want to set yourself up for success too.
Yeah, and we've talked about that before as well.
So you don't schedule your whole day.
You schedule based on your priorities.
I do, but I don't schedule the whole day. Like you can't end a meeting at 1:30 and start the next activity at 1:30.
Yeah.
You have to give yourself a little bit of transition time, white space. And a lot of people deal with emergencies or phone calls or things that come up that you don't realize. So you can't schedule 100% of your day. Maybe start out by scheduling 50% of your day.
Okay.
And then if you get those activities done, then you could add a few more. And some people, they just have a lot of emergencies, a lot of interruptions that come up, and that's part of the things they have to deal with. So some people can't even schedule 50% of their day.
So in that case, are we just looking at the major things that need to get done? I mean, if you can only schedule like one thing a day because 10 other things are going to pop up.
Yeah, and then you have to think that's success. Getting that one thing done is success because the rest of your day is doing what's expected or needed of you.
How do you feel about delegation?
You gotta delegate. Everything that you can delegate. And before you delegate, really think about if things need to get done.
Okay.
A lot of people write these huge to-do lists and then never really do them. So they revisit the list maybe in a month, maybe in 2 months, and then it's easy for them to cross things off that they never ever did do. So being realistic about the things you put on that list to begin with. And then if you can delegate it, delegate it. And maybe that's having somebody, a friend, a neighbor, a coworker, a team member. Maybe it's somebody that you pay to do it.
I found that it also goes back to relying on other people's strengths and what they do well. And, obviously we're in business together, right? And so you're going to ask me to do things that I'm naturally good at or better at, and I'm going to ask you to do things that you're naturally better at.
Yeah, don't fight nature.
Yeah. And then there's also parts where the reward just is not worth the time investment, and then you can get that off your plate.
Yes. And paying attention to, talking about natural abilities, paying attention to your body clock. Some people are just better in the morning. So if you're better in the mornings, you schedule those really hard things that take some brain power in the morning. Some people are better at night. So knowing what works for you too.
Are you a morning person?
I used to be really a late at night person. Like I love to do a project late at night. But the older I get, that's less and less. So yeah, I can't say I'm a morning person, but I like to tackle the hard things first.
Okay.
To get them out of the way.
No, that's
so that
good.
I'm not thinking about them all day.
Yeah, that's good. I've always been a morning person. I've never been able to stay up late at night, and I don't think it's an old age thing. I just think it's a thing. It's just a thing.
John is going out of town. My husband's going out of town for the weekend, long weekend. So I have purposely filled my weekend with projects, and they will go until 2 in the morning.
Can't do that.
And every once in a while I will let him know one other project that I'm doing, and he just shakes his head. It's an illness.
Oof,
Like,
that's a big word to use.
illness? Yeah.
Okay.
I have spent some Friday nights like cutting the not English parts out of instruction manuals. It's very satisfying sometimes.
Satisfying for some people.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
right.
Okay.
You have to know your strengths.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. So we started this conversation talking about the effects that the pandemic had on people and wanting to get into the slower model of life. And I mean, I'll already tell you, like, I feel super busy right now, so it's always go, 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 right? Whether it's a task or whether it's going to a physical location, this is just kind of the way it's going to be. But the way that the pandemic hit our family might be a little bit different, where April's a teacher, right? I was interim chair at that point in time at Columbus State, and then we had all 3 kids who were at various points in the house doing online learning. And so I don't think I'll ever forget this. I mean, we would start the day, they would start school at 8 o'clock, and I would bounce from room to room and make sure that 1, they were actually in school, and then 2, they weren't like minimizing a screen and bringing up a video game or something, and then paying attention and doing their work. And so if that started at 8 o'clock, I wasn't actually starting my work until 9:30 or 10. And so for a morning person to spend that much energy on just trying to manage not only my time but other people's time, I was exhausted by 10 o'clock. And I don't know that there's really any recourse or plan to get out of that. I just think it was a fact of the situation.
So you didn't feel a slowdown. Your time was kind of taken away from you.
I think that it was redistributed.
Okay.
So where that time normally would have been spent in the afternoon at kids events, it was all condensed into the morning. And the fact that I am a morning person, all that creativity that you talked about, it just kind of what went out. No, I do think that in the afternoons when school ended and everybody was able to kind of decompress and come back together, that we were able to go for walks, or we were able to play a game, or we were able to do something like that. But it was just the redistribution of when I had to do certain things really threw me off.
So now that school is everybody's going, do you have that time back? Now it's different.
It's different now. But the kids leave for school at 7 o'clock in the morning, and so it's just me and the dogs at home right now on Sundays, and I'm able to get that creativity back now in the morning. And so if I'm producing videos or working on marketing stuff, it's a perfect time to do that.
Okay.
Because that's where it fits in. If I have to do accounting, that can wait till the afternoon.
Okay. So do you feel like your day is too full? Are you cramming 30 hours of work in a 24-hour day, or
I don't know.
You're good?
I feel like this is a conversation we might want to have off camera. No, it's, you know what it is first of all, I enjoy work, right?
Me too.
For me, I almost, like, I need to see progress for me to keep going. And the beautiful thing about closets for me is that you can see progress, right? Mm-hmm. If you step out and come back a half hour later, there's a big difference that's been made. So for me, it kind of satiates that need that I have to be productive.
Yes.
I do think I'm busier, but I don't feel more tired or more busy, if that makes sense.
Well, when I finish like a 4-hour session with a client, they can be exhausted and I'm jazzed. I am ready to go. So it's probably the same thing.
Yeah.
The only problem is you can't let all that direct you in a way that there are goals in other areas that don't get done.
I can tell you what those other areas are. I'm in charge of food in my house, and we've been having a lot of chicken nuggets lately. And it's just a matter of fact where like by the end of the day I'm tired. And that's not my thing, and or the afternoons are not my thing, and so I just don't want to think about it. Now I know what I need to do, and that's I need to take care of it on Sunday.
Plan.
Yeah.
Gosh, I heard a statistic like 7 minutes of planning saves you an hour and a half of work. Now, don't quote me on that, but it's something like that. Planning. Again, it's that time management skill.
Did I tell you that we did like a HelloFresh or one of those meal deliveries? I never thought we would do it, but April got a deal on one. And they send you everything that you need. It was actually a really big time saver. I did not think it was going to have that effect, but it was a huge win for us.
Well, you save time at the grocery.
Yeah.
You save time. Do you still have to prepare it?
You still prepare it,
Okay.
yeah. But I mean, everything's laid out for you too, right?
Okay.
I don't have to measure anything.
You're not Googling a recipe; it's right there.
I'm not Googling anything, and I just think it's a mental relief that you don't have to plan for it.
When our girls were little, I made my own little cookbook in a 3-ring binder, and I made every family member give me 4 favorite meals, and I just typed a list. So we had 16 meals, and I slid it as in the front of the binder. So when you'd say, well, what's for dinner? What do you want for dinner? And nobody could tell me. I just go to the book, and I had 16 favorite meals.
I
just picked one.
That's a really good idea. You should have let me know this like 13 years ago.
Sorry. I still have that binder with recipes.
Okay. All right, so we've talked about prioritizing your schedule. We've talked about leaving some of that extra time in your day. Do we need to touch on that one again?
Maybe with the transition times.
Okay.
Like just leave some time open, but also leave that transition time. That's really important.
Okay.
You can't shift gears. Your head needs to.
You're talking about mental transition.
Mental transition.
Okay. So let's have an example of that, if you don't mind.
Well, just like I said, you can't. If you have a meeting that runs till 1:30, you can't start the next meeting at 1:30. Physically you have to transition, but you also have to turn off, and I would say, make little notes or finalize that activity in your head before you switch to the next one.
Okay.
You want to actually turn it off before you go to the next one, because you go to the next one, if you're still thinking about something you should have said or something, I need to do those 2 things. I need to add that to the list. So you need a little bit of time just to have a feeling of I'm done with this, a little sense of accomplishment.
Yeah. Okay. So as we kind of wrap up what the time management talk is today, let's talk about how do we make changes? How do we make adjustments to this as we go forward? And what I'm really going for here is journaling, or how do we manage that? Because again, it goes back to my comment about food, right? If you don't plan for it, then you're feeding your kids chicken nuggets every night, and you'll never get out of that trap. So how do we journal or keep track of it?
Well, I think when you're talking about journal, you've hit something, because most people at the end of the day, you'll say, what did you do? I was so busy. And I do. This is an offshoot, but I think people feel successful or productive if they just can say, I was so busy.
Right.
I was so busy. Where we don't value the downtime or the time where you don't have it planned, that you can be creative, because you know, if you've planned every second, you don't have that creativity time. But I think people don't know where their day went.
Mm-hmm.
So if you keep a journal, and it's painful, but if you keep a journal for 2 weeks, you can see so much wasted time. You know, maybe it's sitting in front of the television. Maybe it's, and not that sitting in front of the television is wasted. It's just deliberately choosing how you spend your days.
Okay.
How you spend your time.
So when you say painful,
just to make notes of, okay, at 1:30 I took a walk, at 1:45 I came back, at 2:05 I ate a bite. You know, it can be painful, but it can be eye-opening.
but I also think the painful part is just because you've never done it before. It's changing your own habits.
It is.
And
now technology makes it easier for you. I mean, you can just say into your phone little notes about, but
Yeah.
you can at the end of the day, oh, I forgot to write down what I did today, and you can't recreate it.
No.
You can't.
You always lose it. Yeah.
So you have to do it as you go, and really at the end of the week, it can be eye-opening as to, man, I didn't know I spent 17 hours on Facebook,
Yeah.
you know,
Okay.
where I really, that didn't help me reach any goals.
Right.
So then you can put some limits on, I still want to look at Facebook, that's fine, but set a little timer. Say I'm going to do it for 15 minutes, set a timer, so
Yeah.
15 minutes you're done.
Okay.
So that you have those other 7 hours. Or what did I say, 17?
17. Yeah.
17 hours to do something that will make you a happier person.
Yeah. I like that. Okay. So we're going to continue this conversation in 2 weeks. We will come up with another recipe for drink of the day. And then we've really enjoyed the questions that you guys have put towards us. And sometimes those come in versus DM, and sometimes they come in just in conversation. So maybe we'll have to do another open round of those questions here coming soon.
Okay.
Alrighty? And
Cheers.
then, yep, I don't have my drink anymore. It's all gone. But Grapefruit Margarita, definite win.
It was good.
Alrighty.
Bye.